We all know why we're here. So let me ask you a question then. Why the big secret? Truth seekers were really the true leaders. Keep it grooving, the movement like two-seaters. Turn it up, we're knocking through both speakers. It's time we get the truth from the big secret keepers. Hey, truth seekers were really the true leaders. Keep it grooving, the movement like two-seaters. Turn it up, we knocking through both speakers. It's time we get the truth from the big secret keepers. Hey, break it down. Now can you peep it? They're deceiving all the people. Let me ask you, what's the secret? Misinformation and lies, a devious disguise. They want the EMF blast until our brains is fried. Oh, point their beams in the sky. Oh, it's a movie now. This world is all CGI. Their plot is truly foul. But we're here to rise up and bring the real. Time is now, truth seekers. Y'all know how I feel. Truth seekers were really the true leaders. Keep it grooving, the movement like two-seaters. Turn it up, we're knocking through both speakers. It's time we get the truth from the big secret keepers. Hey, truth seekers were really the true leaders. Keep it grooving, the movement like two-seaters. Turn it up, we knocking through both speakers. It's time we get the truth from the big secret keepers. Hey, why the big secret?
All right, everyone, welcome to Forbidden Knowledge TV. I'm Roderick Martin with Why the Big Secret. And tonight we're going to be talking about Skinwalker Ranch and some of the things that are happening out there today where people are saying there may be some things happening at Skinwalker Ranch and there may not be some things happening at Skinwalker Ranch. And we're going to discuss that today. So let's get into how we're going to put this show together so that you know the journey that we're going to be on tonight. In 1996, a Utah rancher told a local newspaper that he and his family have been tormented by UFOs. Meanwhile, not far away, a Nevada millionaire, Robert Bigelow, reads this article, then buys the ranch. Bigelow brings in a team of scientists to investigate. However, the first few years after Bigelow purchased the ranch, no UFOs were seen or reported. In 2004, Bigelow shut down his team of investigations due to the complete no-show or paranormal activity. The following year, 2005, Hunt for the Skinwalkers was published, written by two Bigelow associates. The book claims that Skinwalker Ranch was a Disneyland for paranormal crawling with monsters, werewolves, and even dino beavers. The stories were crazy, sometimes scary, but they were just stories. The book contained no evidence to back up any of the strangeness that it claimed. One of the book's authors would later admit that there was no evidence.
You're looking for physical evidence and solid proof, and they don't have it.
In 2007, a scientist at the Defense Intelligence Agency read The Hunt for Skinwalker, and he was captivated. He believed the stories could actually be true. This video today is based on a conversation between my friend Nick Pope and Steven Greenstreet of the Basement Office. All right, everyone. So we're going to get down to this Skinwalker Ranch and how we get to this point, which where I bought this book. But in the meantime, let's get ready to kick this show off. So what's going on, Truth Seekers? This is Roderick Martin, and you're watching Roderick Martin, Why the Big Secret, here on Forbidden Knowledge TV. And tonight we got a story for you. We got a outline that we're going to go through, and it's all based on Skinwalker Ranch. First, I'd like to thank you because you could have been anywhere else, but you chose to be here right now. And with that being said, I'd like to take this opportunity to do what? That is, I bid you good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be in the 24 time zones watching this show. And I have one big promise that I'm going to make with you. Hey, first, I'm located in the Jumbo State, and this is where those UFOs come out to play. It's a Texas thing, y'all. And first thing is this: we're going to be the boldest, baffling, belligerent YouTube channel in the world, creating captivating conversations that will certainly cause controversy. Join me tonight in the crew as we talk about this Skinwalker Ranch that has changed the game. But I think now a little things have been exposed about it, and we're going to talk about it right now. So, you know the rules. If you got those kids, do not let them watch what we talk about tonight. It is not rated PG. But if you have not fixed dinner, let me give you a Texas recipe. That is some biscuits, some bacon, some syrup. You can fix it real quick. But anyway, put all the non-believers, whether it's your partners, put them to bed. Because we're going to get down to it, and I'm excited. So let's share it, like the video if you do. Subscribe to Why the Big Secret YouTube channel if you have not did that. So let's rock it. Why? Because Skinwalker Ranch has been around a long time. Everybody's been talking about it. Shapeshifters, you name it. But are we going to debunk that? No, I'm not doing that. I'm just going to talk about the conversation. And with that being said, I want to tell you that you have arrived. And let's get ready to get down to it. Let me get a little drink of water. Now, like I put it out there, it is not every day that we get an opportunity to go over history, especially when it comes down to this ufology, or when it comes down to the paranormal, the unexplained, and all of this stuff. Skinwalker Ranch has it all built into it, even with the history of Skinwalker Ranch. And we're going to go into it in just a little bit. But tonight's video is going to go into a conversation that was being had by my friend Nick Pope and Steven Greenstreet. And Steven is an investigative reporter for the New York Post, but he also runs the website or a YouTube channel within that YouTube channel called The Basement Office. And you get a lot of great information when this guy does investigations. And when he started going down this path about Skinwalker Ranch, now don't get me wrong, there's been already a lot of speculations when it comes down to Skinwalker Ranch. And it all boils down to some of the things that people say that they see there, which we're talking about shape-shifting monsters. We're talking dino beavers, all of these things. So we're going to touch on that tonight. And let me get right down into our story tonight and what we're going to be talking about from there. Again, it all started with this conversation between my guy, Nick Pope, from the Basement Office with Steven Greenstreet, which is his thing. And they started talking about the history of Skinwalker Ranch. And he went through this timeline. And I thought it was very profound. And like I said, we're going to go through it tonight too. We're going to pose a few questions. We're going to want to ask the ultimate question: did they lie about Skinwalker Ranch? Does those things really happen? Or to the extent of what is happening there, and how this thing has turned into a world phenomenon. But we're going to discuss that right now. So here's a little history there. This is Skinwalker Ranch. Of course, this is the place that's located in Utah County, or Utah, actually. And this thing gained notoriety when Bigelow actually bought this ranch, okay? Of course, this all came into fruition when George Knapp, he was a reporter for the Las Vegas station KLAS TV, aired a special about it. Now, there's been plenty of things that's been happening and known with Skinwalker Ranch. It's supposed to be the home to shape-shifting wolves and all kinds of things there. It's been the rumor of the testing ground for UFOs, and you're talking about mystical creatures, and this thing has it all. But what it has done has spurred into all of these different books, TV shows, documentaries, all about Skinwalker Ranch, but nothing more infamous than this particular book, what I think was probably the grandfather of them all that set everything out with this guy right here, which is George Knapp and Kepler. And these two people wrote the book that I think changed the game. And if you pay attention to where we're going to be going tonight, I'm going to get back to that. And I want you to really understand the significance in this particular book that plays in the history of Skinwalker Ranch. And we're going to do it. First, let me take you back. It all began here in 1995 when Terry and Gwen Sherman, they bought this ranch, Skinwalker Ranch. And this was in 1995. Now, of course, at this point, a year later, they start talking about how they've been tormented by UFOs, and this actually hit the newspaper. Okay, it actually hit the newspaper that their ranch, the 480 acres of Skinwalker Ranch at the time, was a hotbed for UFOs and a lot of bizarre paranormal activity. And we're talking a lot, okay? And again, that's one of the things that we all are thinking about today, because we've all been a fan of Skinwalker Ranch. And so now when you hear this, but here's the deal. This guy right here was watching, or he saw this particular ad in the paper. And he sat there and said, hey, you know what? I'm a fan of of UFOs and the extraterrestrials. I gotta have this. This needs to be the arsenal in my toys. And so he reached out to these people, and he ended up purchasing Skinwalker Ranch. And this is the ad, or when it all hit Millionaire Buys UFO Site. And lo and behold, the name is billionaire today. He was a millionaire then, is Robert Bigelow. All right, so a little history about Robert Bigelow. He's an American businessman. Just kind of give you a little background. He's the founder, and hint this, he's going to be significant here in the show. He's the founder of Bigelow Aerospace. Let's get to that a little later. Just stick that over to the side. But he also been in real estate. But he also is a fan of the paranormal, the unexplained, UFOs. And so what would be more befitting than you having a surplus of money and somebody says, you know what, my property is being a hotbed for UFOs and we're going to sell it. Or I'm sure they wasn't thinking about selling it. So he said, let me buy it. And he bought it. Well, Bigelow, being the businessman that he was and is, decided that he's going to take this to a next level. So there was a big old story about him hiring scientists to investigate Skinwalker Ranch, okay? And so spare no expense. This guy's got just Jurassic Park money. Spare no expense. He got the bread. So he was like, okay, let me go ahead and check this out and see what's going on with this. Now, I'm thinking, all right, when I start looking at the history of this, you first start saying, why would a person spend money? And at the time, I think he made it, and I'm not sure for this, you can fact check this yourself. I think he spent a couple of $100,000 for 480 acres. Now, that is probably a still of a deal today, correct? But after all, this is a place that has spooky things happening, and who would want it? Who would want to buy this particular location? But he definitely did. And so he said, you know what, let's get out here and hit it. So he ended up bringing in some of the top scientists, okay? You're talking Jacques Vallée. Now, this guy in ufology is a pretty big person. And you got Hal there, and you got Tim Ryan. And these people are just not run-of-the-mill scientists when it comes down to the paranormal, okay? And I'm not talking to scientists of whatever. We talking these people are scientists when it comes down to the unexplained and strange things. And so when you hire the best of the best, you're going to get the results. You're going to get into the details if you're looking for these monsters, or not so much the monsters. Let's back up for a minute. The UFOs, because it all started with UFOs. And so he's saying, okay, I got y'all out here, and I'm spare no expense. Let's get out here and get the truth, because I want the public to know what's going on at Skinwalker Ranch. But here's the report he got back. There haven't been a single new case of physical UFOs there. In fact, this is what he was told from this group of scientists. Now, play along with me, everybody, because I'm giving you some significant timelines. And of course, I should have mentioned a few dates for you. This is happening in the 90s here, okay? So this group of scientists comes back to Bigelow, who's paying them, and says there's nothing there. And it got to a point to where it made headlines that they're in the newspaper. This is in 1997, that there is no UFOs or ETs have dropped into this spooky ranch. Let's stop there for a minute. I just set up a conversation that we're having right now, and we're talking about what's going on here at Skinwalker Ranch. Now, in contrast to what you heard today, what we all know of all the strangeness that's happening there, I hope you're following along with what I've said thus far. There have been reported from when Bigelow first bought this ranch from the people who claimed that they had been tormented by UFOs in 1995. And now there's been reports that, or he's getting back from these scientists, nothing is happening. And they was there for a few years. They're saying ain't nothing to see here. Nothing is going on. Now, I hope at this one moment, I have not shocked any of you at this moment, but I want to ask the chat and you guys can get involved. Do you understand where I'm going with this conversation tonight, where Steven Greenstreet and Nick Pope have this conversation and they're laying out that there is nothing happening or happened at that time frame in Skinwalker Ranch? But yet today, we'll get into today a little later. So what do y'all think already? And these are factual things, and we're going to bag it up with a little more evidence for you in a few minutes. But the whole point is, why the big secret is the question that I'm going to be asking each and every one. Why is something so significant in our history of where we're going that the big secret that there's a few things there? So, all right, let's get going to it. So Bigelow, as a businessman, gets to a point where he's saying, all right, let's shut this thing down, okay? He decides that he's going to shut down the whole investigation when it comes down to this. Why? Why not? He's a businessman. He done spent money on a place from someone who said they had been tormented by UFOs, who, by the way, only had the property a year, okay? And he's now saying, I don't spend enough money. Let's go. We done shut this down. Now, Bigelow has a group of friends, just like any billionaire would have, okay? And this is about to be significant. So I want you to really get ready to pay attention to where we're about to go with this conversation. Bigelow got friends. And if you got $1 billion, millionaire at the time, you're going to have friends. And one in particular, and a couple in particular, was the people who wrote this particular book. In fact, they were big-time associates of Robert Bigelow, okay? And one in particular who stands out to most is George Knapp, okay? And if you don't know who that is, you know, look him up. George Knapp is legendary from coast to coast. He's done all these different radios. He talks about the unexplained and everything else. And so this is one of the things that we have to look at. So another thing is, what do we do from here? You know, what do we think about when it comes down to what we've heard about Skinwalker Ranch when there's an outlay of things? This particular book that came out started talking about shapeshifters, monsters, dino beavers. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the granddaddy of the bloodline to all of these different books that came afterwards. From this particular book, from the person who actually broke the story, who's named George Knapp, when his friend Robert Bigelow had owned this ranch. Now, I'm just going off a whim. This is why the big secret. This is me. And my comments are mine and mine only. So if you got a billionaire friend who's now telling you, hey, I bought this thing and You know, this is a great place, and you got some people who are very eloquent in what they do. And I'm not saying that there's not any strange things happening there. We'll get to that later on in the show, so stick around. But this book came out to then come back with some outlandish stories of ghosts, and I'm just using my own word, goblins, okay? Dino beavers is the history of this thing. Werewolves, all kinds of stuff, shapeshifters. This place is supposed to be the Disneyland of paranormal, and jackpot is that's it. That is all we needed in this industry, is a place to call home for all of us who believes in the paranormal, the unexplained, and so much more. Okay. So Skinwalker became home to everybody who is in this thing. Everybody who says, all right, man, if have you heard of Skinwalker Ranch? That was the folktale. That was the stories that was told at every event, every UFO event that I ever heard of. Every person in conversation goes back to Skinwalker Ranch. Now, I'm speaking to you out of form of disappointment of hearing what I'm hearing and what I'm sharing with you today, because I have always been the firm believer that I can't wait to someday to visit Skinwalker Ranch. And I'm still going to do it. So all of a sudden, before we go any further, though, let me take you back into history. Skinwalker Ranch, before the Shermans bought it, was owned by the Myers, okay? It was owned by Edith and Kenneth Myers, okay? In fact, Edith and Kenneth Myers owned this place for decades, okay? Decades, and I'm talking a lot. And they, at this point, reported nothing. There was nothing. They never reported a UFO out of the decades that they're owning. I'm talking 6 decades there. I mean, 60 years or 10 decades or however long it was. And, 60 years is what they did. Okay, so we're talking about 6 decades. But the whole point is they never reported a thing. They never reported a bee sting. They never reported a scorpion bite, which I'm sure was there. But nevertheless, they never reported a shapeshifter. And it was there 60 years. Even their children didn't report nothing. But we're going to get to that at the end, because I do have a theory about maybe why they didn't, if things happened there. But they never reported anything, which was okay, all right? But also, let me remind you that they didn't report anything, and neither did this sophisticated group that Bigelow sent there. And the man in the middle is the one I know the most. I read all this stuff, Jaquez Valet. This guy says nothing is happening there. Hal Pothert, nothing is happening there. In fact, they said there was no monsters, no dino beavers or whatever, because they didn't see none of that, and there hasn't been a single UFO case. So let's pause right there for a moment. So now we have laid out from Nick Pope and Steven Greenstreet the plot. We now have Skinwalker Ranch, which is one of the most prolific places in the history, besides Roswell, New Mexico, and all that when it comes down to UFOs. Okay. That because of what we know today, all these books and all these TV shows, that we didn't really know that there was a history of the history. Okay. So now we're there, that there's nothing to see here, folks, right? But yet, how do we get where we were today? Okay. So like I said, it all stemmed from this particular book written by this person, George Knapp, and this other guy, the PhD, who were friends of Robert Bigelow. Okay, so they the friends of the billionaire. That's no problem. I could be friends of a billionaire too. And So before we get into part 2 of this, our segment, where now it's getting ready to get real. It's getting ready to get real, where we're going to get down to what is really happening. And before we do that, let me get into a couple of things that's happening with the show, what's going on here with Forbidden Knowledge TV. As you know, I am airing The Why the Big Secret has an 8-episode show that is now airing on Forbidden Knowledge. And we're in we're in episode 2. So last week was episode 1. And so let me kind of give you a quick promo of that so you can check out. And if you have not subscribed to Forbidden Knowledge, you can go to whythebigsecret.com, our website that we're now putting up, and it's up now, where you're going to find a lot of conspiracy theories. You're going to find ufology articles, paranormal, and unexplained there as we begin to add content there more. But then there's a link that you can hit there, Forbidden Knowledge, get you a free trial. You can check out this. But in the meantime, here's episode 2 promo. Hi, I'm Roderick Martin. Today I'm going to break down the Roswell, New Mexico crash, which could be considered the beginning of all the cover-ups. This is why I think it's important to understand in deciphering who is keeping this secret, the crash, because the actual truth could change our world and our lives as we know it today. Now, according to this statement, Major Jesse Marcel, who was an intelligence officer, oversaw the RFF's investigation of the crash and recovered the materials. Then all of a sudden, here we go with the cover-up. We will never get the truth. One thing's for certain, there was more than just debris found, as well as, there are some leaks that there were some alien bodies. But there was more for them to say, we need to keep this a big secret, other than what's already leaked out with the narrative that there were debris and there was a crash in Roswell, New Mexico. All right, everyone. Again, I want to welcome you back to Roderick Martin, Why the Big Secret, here on Forbidden Knowledge TV. Hopefully already you have got the logistics of what we're going to be talking about in the second phase of what we're doing tonight, and before I bring the crew up a little later. But either way, if you have been a fan of Skinwalker Ranch, there's no problem. I've always been doing that. I've watched many shows. I've done a lot of the stuff from there. But today, I do have a bone to pick, and you should probably listen to the gripe, and then you can go and do the things yourself. Because I always said this, your eyes are useless when your mind is blind. It's time to think why. We got to go past the narrative and the things that we've been seeing here. And if you don't do that, you're going to tend to believe whatever we read and see, especially when it comes down to this phenomenon where we can't really truly investigate the impossible, the unseen, the unevidence of what we have. We have to trust the witnesses when it comes down to that. So we're going to do more of a deep dive into Skinwalker Ranch. Did they lie? Is it a lie? Or is there things that are really happening, but maybe not monsters, and maybe not shapeshifters, and maybe not freaking dino beavers? But either way, it's been set in motion to do that. And so we're going to get down to it right now, and let me catch you and bring the rest of you back up to speed of where we are into the show. 1996, a Utah rancher told a local newspaper that he and his family have been tormented by UFOs. Meanwhile, not far away, a Nevada millionaire, Robert Bigelow, reads this article, then buys the ranch. Bigelow brings in a team of scientists to investigate. However, the first few years after Bigelow purchased the ranch, no UFOs were seen or reported. In 2004, Bigelow shut down his team of investigations due to the complete no-show or paranormal activity. The following year, 2005, Hunt for the Skinwalkers was published, written by two Bigelow associates. The book claims that Skinwalker Ranch was a Disneyland for paranormal crawling with monsters, werewolves, and even dino beavers. The stories were crazy, sometimes scary, but they were just stories. The book contained no evidence to back up any of the strangeness that it claimed. One of the book's authors would later admit that there was no evidence.
If you're looking for physical evidence and solid proof, and they don't have it.
In 2007, a scientist at the Defense Intelligence Agency read The Hunt for Skinwalker, and he was captivated. He believed the stories could actually be true. This video today is based on a conversation between my friend Nick Pope and Steven Greenstreet of the Basement Office. All right, so now we're going to get into the second half of this. And this is where the plot thickens. And my first thing is I need a survey from the audience, okay? And if you all can say, okay, here's what we're going to do. I want number one, put up a 1 if you believe everything you've heard about Skinwalker Ranch. Now, I'm not saying things that you might have said, well, that just don't make sense. But just you are a Skinwalker fan and you just really have no doubt, and you bought books, you watching all the shows. Give me a number 2 if you're just saying, Roderick, some of the stuff there was just too off the cuffs. And all right, so I'm seeing it. We got ones. And let me put it this way. I was a 1. I bought the books. I bought everything. I watched the TV shows. I sat there, bought the popcorn, spread the news, told people go, and we'll get to this book in a minute. This is just another phase of the game here. But at the end of the day, where are you? 1, you were down with the Skinwalker Ranch. 2, you was like, I didn't buy it anyway, So somebody else said we got triple 2s. I mean, this is it. Keep it coming. So the whole point is this gives me an understanding of where we are with this phenomenon. All right. And keep it coming, because I got another question for all of you 1s in a few seconds here. But I need to know who you are. I was a 1. Okay. So keep it coming. But the whole thing, we're talking about what was going on in Skinwalker Ranch. All right. And we're talking about dino beavers. We're talking about freaking werewolves, monsters, poltergeists. All right. So all the 1s, did you believe that? Did you believe that there is a dino beaver walking around this earth today? Did you believe that? Okay, I like the werewolf stories. I watch the Lycans and all of that stuff, the movies, Underworld. That's my favorite. So vampires and all that. But it was a little stretch when it came down to the dino beaver. But the dino beavers caught my attention. But anyway, I want to see those 1s that believe in the stories. If you heard of it, there was dino beavers there. Did you believe that too? I must admit, I didn't say I didn't believe it, but I was interested. I was really interested in trying to find out of all that. So somebody told me my grandmother said, put the wood in the stake in the heart. I'm with you. There was a lot of stuff that was going on there. So let's get down to the part 2 of this story, so we can kind of see what's really happening from there. And so I'm just really excited about it. Let me kind of put a message here in my private chat. Hang on a second here, and we're ready to go. All right, so let's get down to the second part of this, and where the plot thickens. As I said already, Bigelow, which is a billionaire, George Knapp, and the guy who wrote the book with him are associates of Robert Bigelow. Okay, Bigelow then turns around, says there's nothing there. Well, he finds out there's nothing there. So now you got your investment out here, your beliefs out here. Of course, this is a well-known person. Okay, he's a real estate. And I'm not saying if he had an ego. I don't know Bigelow, but I'm sure he probably had some embarrassments. I'm sure somebody around him said, how could you spend your money on a place like that? And he probably was like, okay, I believed it. He believed it. Because how many of us do feel that way from time to time, that we believe some of these things and we need some people to believe it? And it don't mean just because you're rich that you cannot go off the deep end and do some things. But his friend says, just like a great script writer, you know, we all seen, you know, the stories of Harry Potter and all that, and the magicalness of the stories, you know, Lord of the Rings, and we watch these things. So why not just come up with some stories at this place? I'm just asking. And it's clearly that something was needed to be added to this. But here's what a plot really thickens when it comes down to this. So there was this guy, I'm going to bring it to your attention. His name is James Lukaski. Look at the seal to the left. This person works for the Defense Intelligence Agency of the United States of freaking America. Defense Intelligence Agency of the United States of America. He works for the Defense Intelligence Agency. Or maybe, let me just put out the word defense. He works for the Intelligence Agency. Maybe that's not big enough. Somebody has high intelligence, works for the High Intelligence Agency. Why not? That's who we're going to hire. Okay. So I'm not saying that he's not intelligent at all. He works for the Defense Intelligence Agency. But this man reads the book, The Hunt for Skinwalker Ranch. He reads it. In 2007, he sends a letter, okay, to Bigelow. He sends a letter over to Bigelow, and it says, this was put into the New Yorker in April 30th, 2021. He says in 2007, Bigelow received a letter from James Lukaski, a senior official at the Defense Intelligence Agency, who was curious about Skinwalker Ranch. He was curious. He was like, hell, shit, man, what's going on there? Okay. So Bigelow gets this, and it's no different than somebody called me if, for example, if, you know, Sanaa Lathan is one of my favorites, you know, if she calls Roderick, I want to come and, you know, talk to you about UFOs. I saw your show on Forbidden Knowledge, Why the Big Secret, and I know you're a UFO investigator. I want to talk to you about UFOs. Hell yes. What is it? What do you want? It's down. So when Bigelow gets this letter from the Defense Intelligence Agency, now I still got to question this for a moment, okay? And here's why. They meet up. Bigelow says, hey, I'll come on and I'm going to show you the stuff. You don't have to worry about the book like everybody else. You get firsthand, brother. You know, come on with it. And so him and Bigelow together goes back to this place, and this is what happens next, because there's more. There's really more. And I'm not kidding. There's a lot more. So fasten your seatbelt, Dorothy, because we're about to go on a ride. We really are. And the question is, why the big secret? And I can't answer it today. I can't tell you that I have the answers, but I am going to tell you this, what happened next. According to Steven and Nick Pope, Steven Greenstreet, Lukaski goes to Skinwalker Ranch with Robert Bigelow, and he witnesses a phenomena happening right before his eyes. This was an object that was floating in the kitchen. It was about 18 inches tall, 18 inches wide. It was solid yellow, okay? And he was on a show of Coast to Coast radio show. And just think who was the host of that show. Oh, I ain't going to keep you guessing. George Knapp. Yeah, okay. This stuff is working here. George Knapp was the host of the show. So Lukaski says, while him and Bigelow was there, he saw something. Now, here's the catch-22 to all of this. Bigelow was there, right with him, the millionaire. But he reports he didn't see it. They're both standing side by side, and one guy saying, "Can you see this?" And Bigelow saying, "No, I can't see it." All right. But that was enough right there. All right. What do y'all think about that first? Before I can go any further. Bigelow takes Lekansky, the Defense Intelligence Agency official, to Skinwalker Ranch. Now, mind you not, Lekansky saw the book. He read the book. Okay. And let me give you a clue, a hint. Lekansky saw the book, The Hunt for Skinwalker Ranch, that George Knapp and the other guy wrote, who are friends of Robert Bigelow. He was intrigued about the book. At this time, Skinwalker Ranch was deemed as nothing there. Bigelow, millionaire, is really probably being ridiculed. I'm sure he's taking it. Boom, boom, boom. This fool believed in this. I'm sure. So we're talking redemption time. This is what I'm thinking if I got the money. I'm not saying he did this. Okay. Don't hold me to that. And these are my opinions and got nothing to do with Forbidden Knowledge TV, but this is my opinion. Roderick Martin, Why the Big Secret? Because I want to get down. We got to get past the narrative because I'm connecting these dots for you. Lekansky, Defense Intelligence Agency, goes to Skinwalker Ranch with Robert Bigelow. He sees something, but the billionaire cannot go on record this time and say, I saw it too. He's already took a hit because he bought it and was nothing there. There's no way he's going to say, I see it too. But you got somebody, our whole legal system is built off witness testimony. Y'all know that, right? You know you can go to prison the rest of your life if somebody say they saw you and they don't have no evidence. Just somebody say, I saw him walk across the street. It looks like him. So that was enough. Now, I'm going to give you a little foreshadowing here, a signposting, what I want to call it. You see this book, this new one that's coming out now? Okay. This is a new book. It's already out. I'm sorry. It was the hottest thing in ufology some months back. This is written by George Knapp too, the other guy that wrote the book with him. And now Lekansky is in on this title of the book. The one who read the first one that they wrote, and he was interested, and he talks to Bigelow and said, hey, I want to talk. He's in on the second book. All right. This is what gets me. Okay. So he's in on a second book. All right. And now the plot begins to shift a little bit. This is where this whole map begins to go. We got Senator Harry Reid, Lekansky, Skinwalker Ranch, Defense Intelligence Agency, Robert Bigelow. And I left George Knapp out because he's my hero, but he should be in that picture too. So now the plot thickens, and I hope y'all are following along. I hope you're following. Let me know you with me on this. Let me know, am I awakening your curiosity? Because my job is to give you enough things that you can see, you can read, things that you may can hear, to awaken your curiosity to the possibility there may be something fishy going on at Skinwalker Ranch. It just may be. Now, don't get me wrong. I think there could be some paranormal stuff, but monsters, dino beavers, the book, what they said. Okay. All right. So let's take you to the next level here. So all of a sudden, Lekansky goes back to the defense and talks to the majority leader of the Senate, Harry Reid. This is our U.S. Senator, and he's, ladies and gentlemen, he's over the money. And where does that play with it? You saw the title. You saw the thumbnail. We're talking about $20 million in this deal. We'll get to that. But anyway, Harry Reid gets a message from Lekansky about Skinwalker Ranch. And he goes on record and he says this: I was convinced that Dr. Lekansky was on to something. How far does this go? How far does this go? We already got the proof that the owners, the people that was there before for 6 decades, didn't see nothing. Bigelow hires the best and the best of the best, sir, right? He hires the best. And they go in, and do you now want to ask the question? Do you now still believe that there's monsters in dino beavers at Skinwalker Ranch?
Hell no!
Of course not. I hope not. I hope not. I hope not. Because that's something that we got to look at too, what's going on. So the next time, even these books got some good stuff in it. And now I am going on record to say, not that there's no paranormal things going. It's a lot of energy things. I'm sure there's orbs. There. I believe in that. But the fact that there's monsters, werewolves, and all that, ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you officially.
Now that's a damn lie.
That's my official approach. And you heard it. That's it. Now, I'm not saying Skinwalker Ranch and the paranormal little stuff that's happening. I'm just trying to go on the record for dino beavers, werewolves, poltergeists, and stuff like that. That's where I stand. And I don't know. So at first, I'm there. All right. So let's now get back into where this thing is going to move. And we'll be bringing our team up in a little bit and have an open discussion about Skinwalker Ranch. So at this point, Harry Reid, once again, is convinced that Dr. Lukansky was on to something. He's a senator. At the time, he was the majority leader. So he carries a lot of weight in Congress and congressional things when it comes down to stuff. And Harry Reid has a backstory, though. Okay. Harry and Robert Bigelow are buds. Buds. Buddy. You know what I'm talking about? They're buddies. In fact, Bigelow was known and is reportedly, allegedly, that he was one of this man's biggest contributors.
Can you say that again? I'm sorry, what?
He is one of Bigelow's biggest contributors. I mean, Bigelow is Harry Reid's biggest contributors. Money. Follow the money. Do y'all see the plot that's coming? George Knapp and the other guy wrote the first book after Bigelow was probably ridiculed in some of the areas that he bought a place that nothing happened. How could you be that crazy? So they help his buddy out and they write this book and promoted this on the radio waves that there was something big going on at Skinwalker Ranch. Okay. And now Bigelow looks probably a little better. This is just my assumptions. Bigelow probably looks a lot better. Okay. All of a sudden, Bigelow, once again, and I keep harping on this because I don't want you to miss it. And y'all intelligent people. You got to get it. You definitely figuring this out. So now here's another part. Lukansky, which is part of the Defense Intelligence Agency, is in charge or he is commissioned by Harry Reid because he says, listen, we gotta go investigate this thing thoroughly. And one thing I've learned, ladies and gentlemen, and I've heard this and I watched the movies, and I'm going to give you a good lesson here. I want you to see these initials here. You see this right here? Y'all know what that OPM stands for? Put it in the chat. Anybody knows what OPM stands for? Put it in the chat right now. I'll give you a moment. So he decides that Harry Reid says, we need to investigate this. And Bigelow says, probably to his friend, hell no, man. I don't spend enough money. I don't want to spend no more of my money. Anybody know what OPM? Somebody says Office Personnel Management. All right. There are some other people with it. It stands for, somebody said the Office of Personnel Management. I'm with you. It stands for other people's money. Period. Now, the problem with this is We're talking about your money. So don't be sitting here thinking I'm saying something crazy. Other people's money, when it comes down to government money, is your money, my money. That's why I said we need to start a movement, UFO taxes. If we want to know where everything's going, we got to get it. And I appreciate all of you who are participating with telling me what it is. Yeah, it's your money. It's our money. Other people's money. So apparently Bigelow told his buddy, hey, man, I done contributed. Okay, let's get a real life conversation here. He probably said, man, we boys, you know, I'm not putting no more money in this thing, man. How can we use some other people's money? Senator Reed says, okay, man, we cool. We'll figure this out. I'll get you some other people's money. I know where a place where we can rob and don't nobody go to jail. Probably, you know. I know there's a place we can probably find all the money we need. They just make it up. All we got to do is just show some stuff. And it just went something. I'm sure the conversation.
Yeah, a big secret. Spanky told us we're not supposed to tell.
And I'm sure they knew where to go get the money. Seriously. So he then tells Lukansky, who's in charge of understanding how these U.S. government programs work, everyone. Lukansky writes up the protocol for Skinwalker Ranch to go get other people's money. But here's the deal. He left out UFOs at Skinwalker Ranch when they created this particular program called ALSAP, Advanced Aerial Space Weapons System Application. All right, pay attention. Pay attention, everyone. Let me give you this name again. Advanced Aerospace Weapon System Application Program. Advanced Aerospace Systems. Advanced Werewolf Dino Beaver System Application Program. Y'all feeling me? Advanced Poltergeist Aerospace Program. Now, how crazy are we supposed to be in the public? How crazy are we supposed to be? OPM this deal, but they were smart enough to know. People, I'm not making this up. You can go and verify it all yourself. I'm not making this up. I'm sorry if I done bust the bubble or Steven done it because he bust my bubble. He slapped me right in the face with this. When I started seeing this stuff, I was floored. I was hurt. I was pissed off to the highest of festivity. I'm mad, if that's a word. And I'm like, how could you? How could y'all do this? We got enough problems in this thing already. Okay, well, all right. I should have believed dino beavers and monsters and werewolves was a stretch. But I'm a fan of the Lycan and Underworld movies and all that. I've seen every one of them. So werewolves and vampires walking around. I just hadn't seen one. Shapeshifters. Okay, now I'm down with that because I'm in ufology. But the other part, I don't know. I really don't know. All right, so they write this program up because we're going somewhere. Stick around. I got some more. It's more. There's more. So they write this program up. Lukansky figures it out. He puts this thing together, and he writ it in such a way that it has to go through Congress. Congress has to approve it. But there was no way in hell that Congress was going to approve a program to do UFOs and all this. In fact, I know a congressperson off the record. I asked them and I said, would you, if you had known, would you have signed off on it? And they gave me an off the record answer. And it went something like this.
Hell no.
And I'm like, okay, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. They were like, no, they wouldn't have approved it. So they hid it from Congress. And all of a sudden, then I wish I could have told you, show me the money. Show me the money. Because knowing below, this aerospace weapon system contract comes out for $22 million. That's not chicken feed. That's not let's go feed the homeless fund. This is a big deal. But here's the deal though. They wrote this program in such a way that they said it was for missile tests. Go look it up. You can see the name. I didn't bring it on here for you, but I want you to go further yourself. They wrote it up for missile tests. They wrote it up for all of these things on Skinwalker Ranch, not UFOs, not paranormal, not werewolves, because nobody would have went for that. Nobody would have said, we're going to use some people's money for that. And they wrote it up in such a way. And lo and behold, this man gets the contract. Oh, he's smiling because he's happy. I know the smile. I did that when my dad gave me my first $5. I smiled just like that. He got $22 million from the government. And ladies and gentlemen, it went to a company called BASS, Bigelow Aerospace Advanced Space Studies. Now, am I off the ledge here? This is true. This is true stuff. $22 million went to BASS, space studies, aerospace space studies. And now don't get me wrong, shame on all of us, because that was happening right in front of our eyes. We all knew Bigelow's company was called BASS, but we didn't think about it because we were so inundated about dino beavers and big gorillas. Now King Kong, Godzilla. I'm just add to the thing because I just got to put my 2 cents in. Godzilla, King Kong, and whoever, Mothra, whatever. We were so inundated by all of those things that we never thought about the name of the company that got it was called Space. And all right, you think that's it, but there's more. There's more. And we're getting ready to bring our folks up too. There's more. And so all of a sudden you would think here, if you had some stock out there, but here's the top companies that you should be invested in: Lockheed Martin, Boeing, Raytheon, Northrop Group, all of these people you want to put your money in. Why? Because if there's a contract for space stuff, they're going to go after it, and they are the people. They're the people. They're the people. Okay. They're the people who are going to go after this contract. They're going to go after this contract. People, you know how many of them bidded on the open contract that was open to the public, because that's how our stuff works, for $22 million? There was an open contract for $22 million for advanced aerial space program. And these top companies who does Raytheon, Lockheed, Boeing, and all of this, not one of them bidded on the deal. The single bidder, the only person who bidded on the contract, the only person, the buddy of the senator who put in the deal, they're buddies, his contributor, he gives money to his campaign, was the sole winner. He got the deal. It went to him. I'm going to stop right there. Because I ain't got down y'all street yet, right? Nope. I ain't making no sense. Nope. And I'm saying to you, I'm separating this from Skinwalker Ranch anomalies. Okay. I'm not saying there's not nothing going. I'm sure, because I'm in ufology. If somebody said they saw some orbs, I believe them. If they possibly saw some UFO, of course I believe them. I'm a UFO investigator. I've hosted TV shows. Go check it out. Alien Endgame is on Discovery Plus right now. Please, support it. Go over to Fox Tubi. I'm hosting a show there, or I'm in it as an expert. Aliens, abductions in Roswell 75. I'm in Billy Carson's Black Knight Satellite. If you haven't seen that, that's good. I'll be flying out next week to Gaia to do a show. I was on George Norrie's show. I believe in UFOs. I believe in paranormal and the unexplained. I just can't believe that I believed in dino beavers and the werewolves was true. Okay. I did it. I know I'm the only one besides the ones who's going to say, and I know there's some other people sitting out here that did. But isn't it not strange that none of these companies who are, look at that, right there, got a freaking rocket in their image. Boeing, all of these, none of them bidded on this $22 million as though somebody said, stay away from that. That's ours. That's our money. I done gave y'all some money, man. Y'all stay away from this. I'm just thinking that's how on the street it will probably go down. And it's just my opinion. It's my opinion. Please, it's my opinion. But I'm saying if it walk like a duck, look like a duck, and it's quacking, can we call it a duck? Yeah, okay. But anyway, I'm saying the question is why? Why the big secret? Why did none of those companies bid on this thing? None of them. This is an open contract. And the mandate of it was space, rocket, whatever, because they was hiding the UFO thing. All right. None of them bid on it. But I'm proud to tell you, that somebody found out and that Sugar Honey Iced Tea got canceled. Period. Boom. When the word got out to other congressmen, and maybe, they said, man, y'all had y'all fun, but y'all ain't getting no more money. They, I don't know. It's one of, it's one of those things. I think that, but we at the people, we should be more paying attention to this. And where I'm going to go with this is, now that we're getting this disclosure and all of this stuff, and this is just me off the cuffs, we got to follow the money, people, because you think now that they're making this public that it's another way for them to, because when they did that last report that came out, the last line says we need more funding. Oh my God, the rules may change. The game is not going anywhere. Just like Tolson or whatever his name, Tucker Carlson and Dr. Nolan said they're just going to keep printing the money. They just need the money. So I just think it's strange that all of this went down. So let me give you a quick retake and we'll get to the final part and then we're going to open up some dialogue. So I've shown you the fact that Skinwalker Ranch was owned by a family. These people right here, the Myers, for 60 years, people, 6 decades, and did not report a single thing. These people was hired by Bigelow in the beginning, said there's nothing there. There's no dino beavers there. All of a sudden, we starting to find out Lukaski, George Knapp, Bigelow, all these people, even a senator, are friends. They are friends. This is friend. Could it possible this was orchestrated from the beginning? Could Bigelow been whining and said, man, I bought this and they're making fun of me? And George Knapp said, I got you, because that's what a friend does. And said, we're going to write something and we're going to solidify this thing. And now it took a life on its own to where there was 20. I looked up Amazon. There's at least 50 books, documentaries, and it gets bigger. I got more in just a minute. Hang around. It gets bigger. Okay. And all of these people are making money off of it. So officially, listen to me. Don't hate me. I'm writing me a book on Skinwalker Ranch, and I saw giant pelicans. And I'm just letting y'all know the plot. The book is going to be Skinwalker Ranch. I was looking with my glasses, and I saw a giant pelican and a flying whale at Skinwalker Ranch. I can do it. Everybody else is doing it. And you're going to buy my book because we bought everybody else's books. And if you don't think we bought the books, wait till what I show you in a few minutes that you don't bought into. Okay? In a few seconds, I'm going to reveal to you. So my book will be Skinwalker's eyeballs. I don't know. I'll make it up. But you see giant pelicans and blue whales with wings. Okay. So that's my subject in my book. And if you want to invest in the book and help me write it, hit me up. So if that wasn't enough, if all of this wasn't enough, they canceled the program. So the money went dry. And if your money goes dry in something that you always making money from, what do you do? What the question is, how do we turn back on the tap? How do we turn back on the tap? Follow me. Everybody follow me right now. If the money goes dry on something that you put together, how do you turn it back on and get more money? What do you do? What will be the plan? Put it in the chat for me. What would be the plan to get more money and if it was cut off? Because this thing is making money. It's making money. What would you do? Well, history. You will say something to the effect in a private lunch, probably. You will say, well, hell, they bought this book. They believed in this one. Why don't we just make up another one? Why don't we just create a new book? If the first one worked, let's take it more deeper. Okay. Now I'm saying to you, this is just my theories. I'm not, and like I said, I want you to separate that there is something happening at Skinwalker Ranch. I'm not saying that. Okay. Don't go on. I'm not going on record saying there may not be some paranormal something happening there. I'm saying, how did we let this thing go to the Disneyland of paranormal to where they just said, we're going to tell the public anything that they want to know? You know, I don't know. So, all right. It's one of these things that you look at and you say to yourself, you know, yeah. Yeah, you one of those things you look at and it's like, okay, you know. So I'm saying to you, investigate this yourself, find out. This is all put out on the basement video. He lays out some of the evidence and everything else. And so I'm regurgitating a lot of that with passion. But then, you know, I get it because it makes sense because it was true. It's in the Senate. They voted on it. He's not making none of that stuff up. It's right there. We saw it. We saw the names. We see who got it. We all know Bigelow got it. We now know the name of it, aerospace. It had nothing to do with monsters and paranormal. All right. So that's fine. So if you're going to start over, you write a new book. Okay. Now, the author of that book was George Knapp. He's part of it. Lekansky this time. Okay, the same guy wrote the other ones. Now we have all the key players who were key players in getting the $22 million deal done. Now those same key players are all co-authors in the newest book that came out. Y'all feel me? Y'all feel me? They all are the new co-authors. So they figured it out. We'll just do it again. Yeah, and they'll do it again. And here's the key to this, though. In order to do it again, but do y'all know this guy to the right, Joe Rogan? Joe Rogan has millions of audience. He actually got George Knapp on his show July 17th, and he grilled him. He says, where is the evidence, George, of all these stuff on Skinwalker Ranch? He asked him, and George's answer, okay, he came back with an answer, and you know, I get it. Joe Rogan kept grilling him, and I would have probably did the same thing, but George came clean, and this is what he said.
No evidence.
If you're looking for physical evidence and solid proof, and they don't have it.
All right. Did you?
Can you say that again? I'm sorry, what?
Let him say it again.
No evidence.
If you're looking for physical evidence and solid proof, and they don't have it.
All right. What do y'all think about that? I'm going to pause right there. I'm just saying the man who wrote the book said if you're looking for physical evidence and solid proof, they don't have any. And they is him, and he talking about Skinwalker Ranch. He wrote the books that started the whole legend of the monsters theories. All right. And I'm just saying, there you go. and it came out of his mouth. He said it. That's what he was talking about. And so the challenge of that is something that we look into. All right. So now Skinwalker Ranch is the thing. And in order to really get this thing going, and because it is being exposed, then we have the new person, Brandon Fugel. Brandon buys it. Brandon is a businessman just as everyone else. And ladies and gentlemen, I present to you 3 years of things that we've been watching. Skinwalker Ranch. They're already in season 3. And it is very entertaining. The oohs, the ahs. They don't even have to show anything. All we got to do is hear the emotions. And I watch them, and I still watch them. Now, I got past it. I have not seen a Dino Beaver. They never showed a werewolf in none of the series. They haven't went that far. They're not going there with us with that. But obviously, there's something else. But I will remind you, as we come to a close to bring the group in, that there was no UFOs there. Okay? I will remind you, as we come to a close to bring the crew up a little bit, that these people in freaking 6 decades. 6 decades. Now, I'm 25 times 2 plus 2. Figure that out. And that's been going on longer than I've been here. Okay? 6 long decades. These people said that they never seen a darn thing. In fact, this is when Steven Greenstreet went and interviewed some of the offspring, the kids. This is what they told him.
See a UFO, report a UFO, see anything weird, see anything paranormal, nothing.
Yeah, that's what they told him. They ain't see a UFO, they ain't report a UFO, they ain't say nothing.
See a UFO, report a UFO, see anything weird, see anything paranormal, nothing.
So, all right. Now we have where we are. So I am now getting ready to open up Whyology for you. This is what I'm going to take you through. It's Whyology time. Why? Because we got to ask the questions why. We got to think why. Okay, so I passionately have told you how I felt about a few things, and that's cool. That is real cool. So I made a list of things that I can ask any of you questions to the audience as well, and I'll bring the crew in here. Now, I will say this. When I start looking into history of ufology back in the 30s to 60s, that was a time where people wouldn't talk about UFOs, even if you were not the minority. You just don't go and tell anybody. So I can go back and say, okay, there's a possibility for the 6 decades that they was there. There was a reason, if they did see a UFO, why they wouldn't have told anyone during that time frame, because they would have been ridiculed. They would have been ostracized. They would have been whatever. Okay. So let's think about that. Could that have happened? So now if they saw a Dino Beaver, they probably would have told somebody. They would probably been gone, packed up like the Beverly Hillbillies. They'd been gone, because I know I would have been gone. But they stayed there to deal with werewolves. They stayed there to deal with poltergeists and all that, if there was there. But again, I do believe during that time, because I do believe UFOs exist. So I'm not saying that they didn't exist. I believe UFOs exist. So I'm saying they probably would not have said nothing. So I'm gonna give them that and say, okay, let's just leave them that they wouldn't have said nothing. And we then go into the other stories. So with that being said, let me get the crew in all together, and we will take some questions if you guys got anything you want to say in the audience. and all those things. And like I said, I'm still down with Skinwalker Ranch. I'm still down with Skinwalker Ranch. Nicole, how are you today?
Hey, Roderick, I'm doing great. How about yourself?
We are talking about that thing, and
Yes.
in Skinwalker Ranch and what's been going on there. We'll get Mateo and Rob in here for a minute. Just real quickly, you know, we've been talking about this for a few days, and it's getting more and more passionate for me. You know,
Yeah.
have anything I've said resonate with you, or what is your thoughts, real quickly, just about, not that I'm not saying nothing that's going on at Skinwalker Ranch. I'm talking about the plot that was put together to get the money and what's happening there. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, like you said, I also am in agreement that there's something going on there. Perhaps paranormal. Who knows what it is? But
Mhm.
the fact that they put something together to, manipulate the situation
Mm.
and exploit it is disheartening. And especially because folks have been following Skinwalker Ranch stories for decades now. And so I'm hoping that, um, you know, more honesty comes out of the situation with the current owner and with some of the people that are doing the show,
Right.
although entertainment is entertainment. um
Like
but
I
yeah,
like what you said there. Yep.
yes. Entertainment is entertainment for sure. So you have to take certain things with a grain of salt, but I do agree with you. It is disheartening to know that they would do that. Dino beavers is kind of hard to pass off anyway.
Yeah, but it was out there though, right? And we all bought the
Right.
story. I know I did. It caught my interest. What? Because I'm telling you, I was like, what? What? You don't say, you know?
Yeah, I was a little bit taken aback when I read that in Skinwalkers at the Pentagon.
Yep.
So it was a bit shocking.
And yeah, let me get Rob in here. Hang on a second here. I'll get you right back. Hang on. Rob, what's going on, man?
What's going on?
Well, I'm just laying out my frustrations of this whole ordeal. And like I said, and I'll ask you the same question. We're not gonna, go against the grain that there's something strange happening there. What do you just think about the plot, that it was a possibility that they might have put this together to get money? What do you think? That, from my opinion.
Well, I mean, a lot of people do things for money. So, I mean, it's really definitely not out the question for that to be the case here. We can definitely tell it's about the money because out of all the years, most of the years that you had someone living there and watching over the property, there hadn't been any activity. So it would have to be a money grab for sure.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on it. Hang on a minute. Let's get Mateo, and then I'm gonna get all of y'all in here. Dale, same thing for you. Besides, we're not getting into the fact that we know something else is there. We'll get to that. But just the allegedness of the stuff we're presented about the money grab. What do you think?
I think it's real. Look at the owners. If you follow the owners, we have owners that saw nothing for 60 years. We have owners that saw something major for 1 year, sold it to a guy who looked hard for 20 years and
Yep.
really didn't find anything, but he collected money along the way and paid a lot of people along the way. And then now you have a new owner who bought it for quite a steep bill, $4.5 million.
Yep.
And he's doing the best he can to make that return on investment, that ROI. It's unfortunate, but I do believe this is a grift, and there's the money was driving a lot of this because there's too many inconsistencies. No activity, lots of activity, no activity, now suddenly lots of activity.
No, I'm with you on that. I think it's it's one of those things that you have to look into, follow the money, like they said, and pretty much from there. So what I'm going at is with, my thing is, and I had a bunch of questions. And my thing is, why, why have, even after the 2 books was written, and then they did it again because it worked the first time. So they all came in and wrote, and nobody really connected those dots because I know I didn't at all. Okay. Now, of course, we have a new owners. We're talking about Brandon Fugel. We're talking about 3 different seasons. So with all of this speculation of what Greenstreet and is unveiling, what do any of y'all think, and whoever wants to go first, the future of Brandon Fugel's show, if anything? Because I haven't watched every episode, so I don't think he's claiming outlandish stuff. Y'all can tell me if anybody's seen enough of them. But what is the future if this stuff comes out to be true, that the DNA, there's nothing there of Skinwalker Ranch? Do I need to pick a person? Ladies first.
Ladies first.
Ladies first.
Okay, sure. Mateo looked like he wanted to say something.
Okay.
But
I was trying to break the silence. Go ahead, Nicole.
Okay. I'm hoping, for good things for the show. Obviously, Brandon Fugel is not out there saying that, he sees dino beavers or werewolves walking around, but he's doing a lot of experiments on the land. They've been checking for radiation, and I believe in one of the episodes that I watched, they're looking for possible portals. Who knows? I think that if he brings on more like third party folks that have never even been to Skinwalker Ranch, maybe never even heard of Skinwalker Ranch, they might get a neutral point of view where they can get more evidence on what is going on there.
Okay, I'm with you on that. Anyone else want to take that?
Sure, I'll take a stab at that. There's a lot of entertainment in that show, and there's some attempts at good science. I don't think that they're producing hard, irrefutable evidence, though. There's something going on there. Personally, I feel it's a geophysical phenomenon. There's something with planet Earth going on there that has to do with magnetic fields, concentrations of magnetic fields, and things of that sort. But as far as the future of the show, it'll stay on if no one blows the lid off of it. And we have to remember that Steven Greenstreet is going there to take his own look at it. And if he comes back with positive things, the show will live on. If he doesn't come back with positive things, that could deal a death blow to the show. That's my take as to what might happen.
I saw a little hint that was, I saw a little quick clip of him saying, "Oh," so I think he. But I don't think that.
I was trying to check his Twitter. I hadn't heard anything, so maybe he's seeing something. We'll find out soon.
Yeah. All right. So Rob, go ahead.
Man, yeah. The future of Skinwalker Ranch, really hinges. Well, I don't even know if it hinges on Greenstreet sees something while he's there, because if you think about it, anomalous activity happens everywhere. So I don't doubt that it happens here. So I think as far as the anomalous activity, I think that could potentially continue, and therefore, depending on how they drive the show, if they want to make it more appear more realistic and truthful, then maybe the show can live on in a new form. But if it's gonna be hung on those outlandish claims of other types of creatures, then if they're gonna stand on that, then that show will probably not survive.
Gotcha. I think now, again, I don't think that that he's gonna, Steven is gonna break down a ship. I don't think. I know he's going to do honesty, honest reporting, but I do believe that he got to come back and say, well, one thing I didn't see was dino beavers, werewolves, poltergeists, and everything else. And that's really where I'm hanging my hat on. I'm not worried about, is there not something at Skinwalker Ranch? That is not what I've been saying, and not saying it at all. I'm into paranormal, unexplained, and I do believe that there are some anomalies there, period, because they exist, and the possibility is there. It's just that the far-fetched side, and to have credible people to put things out there like that. But then when you go back and see the two people that wrote the first book that started this is the same co-authors in the second book, but also the author of the guy who put the program together to go get the money is in there now. It's almost like everybody's saying, I want in on the next one. The other one, we got paid. We got paid. I ain't gonna let y'all get away. Put my name on it too. You know what I'm saying? And they got paid.
No doubt there's been a lot of exploitation going on throughout this whole history.
For sure.
Yeah. And I think it's time for us as people to begin the process of looking into these things and pretty much from there and everything else. So I guess my other part of this is, and I had a couple of questions though, and we can just speak on it real quick. If we talk about some of the paranormal things that's happening out there, do we think there's any, now that we're all ufologists or in ufology, any extraterrestrial connections though, from what you think, from what you heard? Let's go on a record with it. I think that for me, I would hope that there's some UFO activity because I look for it. This is what I go for. I hope that the orbs and lights, and again, the first owners never said anything. So let's talk about that in ufology. What do y'all think? Even though the first owners never reported some in 6 decades, what they were in a time that you wouldn't go tell nobody that because they would think you crazy. So could we give them a pass on that? Or what do y'all think?
I would say that you could give them a pass to a certain extent. Back in those times, things were very conservative. If you spoke up on something like that, it definitely wouldn't have been taken seriously. So I think if they did see something, they probably kept it to themselves, maybe shared it with a few neighbors to see if they saw the same things. But as far as ETs go and UFOs, who's to say that maybe they didn't see any interesting lights going on in the sky? It is a very rural area, so you never know what could take place there. But as far as aliens, like having a secret base there or something, no, I think that's a bit far-fetched. And I lean more towards the paranormal aspect of it, but the ET aspect is just, it's a no-go for me.
Okay. What about you, Rob?
Like I say, I mean, I don't believe that as far as the ETs go, I believe that ETs may be observed from Skinwalker Ranch for sure, because they're observed all over the world. But I don't necessarily feel like the ETs have a connection with this location, or any sort of connection to these dino beavers and wolfmen that they claim that they've seen on this property. So I just don't feel like, I don't feel like there would be any real connection there, but I could imagine you could potentially have seen some from there for sure.
Yeah. Dale?
Agreed. I don't see any hard evidence of UAP or UFO phenomenon. The History Channel show certainly has plenty of cases where UAPs were spotted with all of their camera equipment. But lights in the sky, to me, isn't enough. Lights that disappear, that you can't really attribute or prove anything. And then prior to what's going on right now, only what was written in the books talks about any UFOs, and we all know that there was no hard evidence, as George Knapp told us, about what went on in the books.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I don't see the UAP connection to Skinwalker specifically. I feel it's more of a geophysical phenomenon and possibly a paranormal phenomenon as well, as Nicole mentioned.
Wow. Well, there we have it, man. I think we're gonna end it on that note, and just really think about it. I appreciate each and every one of you for hopping in, and those who are watching it, put in your comments a little bit. But y'all hang on a bit. Let me close this out a little bit here, and we're gonna do that. So one of the things I would just say to everybody is again, all the things that you hear me say tonight are mine and my opinions only, and they have nothing to do with forbidden knowledge, whatever, when I say, but we are in association. And so, but those are my opinions and opinions of the team that's up. Those are our thoughts. And I want you to gather the thoughts for yourself so that you can understand what's going on out here when it comes down to this phenomenon, when it gets down to it, because it is a lot of things happening, a lot of money, what's going on. Make sure if you got any value from the show tonight, like the video, come back and post your comments on your thoughts on this Skinwalker. Do your own investigation, not so much on the paranormal side, but what has happened when it comes down, and can we even believe what else is going to come down the pipeline when it comes down to these stories. But you got to see, your mind or your eyes are useless when your mind is blind. So don't let your mind be blind to the possibility, so that when you see things, you don't take their word for it. You get past the narrative of all of those things. If you have that opportunity, go and subscribe to Why the Big Secret. We got a lot more stuff there. That's the YouTube channel, my YouTube channel. Share it next week. And let me give you what's going to be happening here next week. Nick Pope is a friend of mine, and he was in the thing. He'll be here next week on Tuesday the 13th. And we're going to talk about this particular video. We're going to talk about this Steven Greenstreet. We'll talk about the Calvine photo. And so that's going to be huge. Make sure you do not miss it, because we're going to hear it right from the mouth. Okay. We can talk about some of the stuff I said tonight. Anybody who's like, yeah, you're going to hear it. They did the investigation. So he'll be here next week, right here on Forbidden Knowledge TV, right here. With that being said, it's been a plum-pleasing pleasure and a privilege. Thank you for watching Roderick Martin's Why the Big Secret and the crew. And stay strong. Do what you got to do. And we'll see you next week. But in the meantime, come Thursday and Friday over to Why the Big Secret and get you a little more. Peace out.